Welcome on in, Alpha Legion lovers as well as members of the chapter, and I will have to say, it is beyond a shadow of a doubt, my opinion, that the Alpha Legion Horus Heresy line of action figures is the best that we have seen in terms of aesthetics, as well as even construction. Now we have yet another release to take a look at, which is going to be the Saboteur Consul. And at the end of this review, we will determine if the Saboteur Consul can keep up with the stellar quality that we have seen thus far. I'll be honest, I do not remember when, or if we have even seen a shotgun on a JoyToy action figure, but clearly we have one here. There is weathering in the form of gunmetal dry brushing in these sections over here, which really is a nice look in my opinion. There's a shoulder strap here that you can detach right here at the handle, which is a nice option to have so you don't have to loop it around the arm area. Again, in the land of firsts, we have something called a power dagger here. For a tiny piece of cutlery, there is certainly a wide variety of colors. There really isn't too much to say except that it is a simple looking short blade that is well done. I'll have to say that JoyToy has stepped up their game with regard to the texturization of these holsters. You can tell that there are some realistic creases and folds on this leather part, and there's some also subtle shading that is located on the flap area here. It is also nice that this holster attaches right here via this ball and socket joint. This helmet, in my opinion, is likely one of the best that I have ever seen from JoyToy as well as GW. It really gives off this Death Knight type of vibe. The gunmetal outlining does a great job of accentuating the lines of the helmet. The crest or ridge on the helmet follows the same patterning as Alpharius as well as the Legion Praetor and is a nice touch to have. Pauldrons wise, there is a slight departure from what we have seen before on other Alpha Legion action figures, in that instead of the main area being turquoise color, is now solid black, as well as some chains that are located at the bottom of the pauldron, which is a nice look to break up the monotony of the black. The right pauldron, on the other hand, has a glorious looking Hydra on it that is unfortunately partly obscured by the cloak, which is a shame because the Hydra looks insanely awesome with this electric blue color. Arms wise, the right one sports a gigantic screen, while the other one has a simple Alpha Legion logo on it. Now the chest area is dominated by this bandolier of grenades that are located front and center. There is a venom sphere right here, as indicated by this green banding, and there's also this other grenade here that I'm not too familiar with. Let me know in the comments section if you know what it is. What makes this bandolier interesting is that it's not fixed to the body of the action figure and that you can move it around like I'm showing you right now. This strap kind of reminds me of a rubber band, but it's not as elastic and as stretchy as a rubber band. Then underneath it all, you have your characteristic Hydra scales, and then the torso area has this soft armor rib patterning, which gives off some tasty definition. Waist-wise, I'll have to say that this is the most plain area that I have seen yet. The only thing that is in this area is this plain belt buckle that clearly has an Alpha Legion symbol on it. Thankfully, in the leg area, there's a diversification of patterning. The armor in this section is different from other Alpha Legion ones that we have seen, in that instead of the gunmetal banding that outlines the armor, this armor has some textured vertical banding, which is quite interesting. You also have this same bandolier strap that is located on the right thigh, but the interesting part of this is that you can remove this section and the scabbard for the dagger can be removed as well, as I am showing you right now. I am, however, kind of wondering about the durability of this area over time, in that the plastic will loosen and therefore may lose its tightness here. The scabbard is completely functional in that you can sheath the dagger inside. Now back to the shins, where there is an interesting looking studded patterning on the right one, but I really love the left one more due to the scale armor patterning. This backpack has a very interesting look to it in that it's a lot more narrow than a lot of backpacks that we've seen in the past. I do like the color patterning of the backpack with the gunmetal hoses on the sides that attach to this Alpha Legion turquoise in the center, along with a very prominent back section here. Looking at the other side, there is some of that same patterning as well. Now the biggest thing that dominates the back of this action figure is this camelline cloak. Looks wise, this obviously is a massive cloak that is supposed to shroud the whole entire figure and allow the Saboteur to sneak around unnoticed. The cape is a rather drab olive green with some light highlights, which is a welcome sight to see. Then the other side is completely black, which makes sense for this figure, but I'm not too much of a fan of it due to the plainness. Now here's where I get a little bit critical about this action figure. The cloak is attached to this figure via these two Alpha Legion symbols that are here, as well as here, that are located on the pauldrons of this figure. The cloak is then further secured to the body with these two pegs that are found on the backpack. I am not a fan of this design at all because it restricts the movement of this figure severely, hence the title of the video. When you swing the arm back and forth without the backpack, you can see that the other pauldron moves on the other side. With the backpack, there is no movement at all on the opposite pauldron, but it further restricts the rotation of the arm to the point where you can't move them over the shoulders. You cannot rotate either arms of the action figure 360 degrees. Yes, I know you're not meant to do that. You move the arms up and they kind of snap back. I'll do that again. You move it up and they kind of snap back. Now in comparison, this Victrix Guard broad cape is almost the same width as the Saboteur. It's not completely ideal the way it is attached. And if you don't remember, it is attached via these two pegs right here. But at least there's no real restriction of movement, as you can see right here. The arms are, I suppose, free-flowing. So I think that this is actually a better design like this. And now it is size comparison time. Since we have this version 2 Victrix Guard already brought out, you'll notice that this Saboteur Consul literally stands about a head taller than this version 2 action figure. Then we have our obligatory version 3 Blood Angels regular intercessor that is a little bit taller. It comes about halfway to the helmet area. And next we have our obligatory Titus comparison, and you will notice that both of these action figures are version 4 sized. And then we have the Hero Master, which is the exact same size as the Saboteur Consul. Well, to be honest, we still have another solid action figure on our hands here, but there is some major faults in the action of this action figure. Obviously, I am not a fan of how this cape attaches to the shoulder. I really wish that JoyToy would have integrated the attachment point on the shoulder peg rather than be put on the two pauldrons. The aesthetics are thankfully on par with the rest of the Alpha Legion that have been released thus far. I am a massive fan of this helmet right here, and perhaps this is one of my most favorite helmets that have been released thus far, both in Warhammer 40k as well as Horus Heresy. And I will have to say that the Hydra logo on this action figure is sublime as well. Which lands us to the roughly $60 question, which is this figure really worth getting? Well, the answer is, if you don't mind the restriction of the movement for the cape, it is still a really good action figure to get. I think if you're not an Alpha Legion fan, however, you may want to skip out on this one. If you want to buy this figure, then there is only one place to buy it at, which is at David Toys. They have fantastic customer service and are willing to help you out with regard to some defects as well as missing parts. And they are still able to offer us free and tariffless shipping, which is a major deal in the United States. And before you check out, again, do not forget to input the code SNS to receive your 12% off. So in closing, thank you so much, members of the chapter, for watching this video. Please let me know if you actually agree with the assessments that I have made in this video, and leave a comment in the comment section. Do you plan to get this action figure, or do you think you're gonna pass on it? I would really like to know. And with that being said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.